Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you good old boys up in Canada, you know we love you up there. But Big C, there's still no one I love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for all of you good old boys?
Well, Jonathan, I'm going to tell you what, we've been giving away a free blood drive down here to the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
All the rain that we've had down here, I mean, they've been opening up the buffet.
That's funny.
I got so many mosquito bites on me right now, I don't know if they're going to fly me out of here.
That's funny.
It's been hot, it's been humid, and it's been attacking mosquitoes on the old fat guy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's a movie back in the day called The Birds. I think it was an Alfred Hitchcock movie, and it was actually up in a Northern California town. And those birds, they didn't look all that tough until they had like 100 of them together. Is that what you're talking about, Big C, with mosquitoes?
I mean, they look like a wave. I mean, they look like a bird wave flying in, and it's like they just attack, and there's nothing you can do to them. I mean, they hide in the weeds, you know, in the dark. You sit down and you get bit.
Yeah, that's funny, Big C. But we know sometime we need the vector mosquito pest control people. And speaking of that, today is a beautiful. Actually, it reminds me of buying lottery tickets. I think the Powerball's up to $200 million plus. Today's date is 7/7/2017 for all you good old boys that like to gamble. So it might be a good day to buy some type of lottery ticket. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, so many things going on in the world of sports, but I'm telling you, out here in California is hot. You talk about mosquitoes. I think it's too hot for mosquitoes to live in California. I kind of miss all that rain that we had when people complained about the rain coming, Big C. So would you rather have mosquitoes biting you or the rain and the heat hitting you, Big C? Which one is it?
I look like a dartboard.
Wow.
And that's tough to be in every day, and it's painful. You know, I got enough pain going on, but, you know, from some little animal that I can't even see, that's what ticks me off.
Hey, I heard some good old boys down south. They eat mosquitoes. They don't try to swat them. I mean, some people eat flies, mosquitoes. I think that might be the new food of the future. So who needs a bird when you get mosquitoes? Come to your bird. Don't come to you the way mosquitoes do. We just got to learn how to use them for seasoning, Big C. And speaking of seasoning, you know, going across the pond, and we talked so much about the Williams sisters. Really proud of them, but Serena didn't. You know, she's getting ready to have birth, and Venus was trying to get number 8 in the championship at the Wimbledon. But Federer, to have the 8th championship of Wimbledon, he actually cried. And some people say, oh, he's just crying because whatever. But men do cry, especially when you accomplish something that's such a remarkable feat, Big C. Just your thoughts on him, because he's kind of under the radar when it comes to marketing him in the United States. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Trump, I always love the way these non-athletes talk about athletes not having emotion.
Yeah.
You know, that's what the game is all about, sports, interaction. You know, the challenge, it's what the wide world of sports said decades ago. The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Yeah.
There's nothing like the thrill of winning a championship. Now, you show me what player that has not cried winning a championship. It is jubilation. It's like having your first child, Charles.
Yeah.
And regardless of how many that you win, it's always something that happens anew.
Yeah.
And for Roger Federer to share that emotion with the crowd and with the world, I mean, that's genuine. But, you know, I hate these young juvenile broadcasters that constantly want to spew their expertise continuously to the public, going out saying what a guy is not sincere about, and yet he can't even put on a jockstrap. You know?
Yeah.
You got but 2 hoops to put your legs in. They can't even figure out which one to put me in. So, you know, when you sit here and you want to badger an athlete from a broadcast booth of safety, okay?
Yeah.
But when you have autonomy, you have this mic, and this guy can't say anything back to you because you're doing it away from him. Get in his face and tell him that he's not sincere, that he did not feel the emotion of winning a championship. You don't understand that. How can he feel that way or express that to the public with your stupidity, okay?
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on, but I'm so proud of the fact that he did something that maybe people don't think he could get to number 8 because it's a difficult thing to do. If it wasn't difficult, more people would actually be doing it, Big C. So the fact that he got there and he kind of had a meltdown, I mean, it's a good thing. It's good for people to see that. And obviously his opponent had maybe a little bit of an injury. But at that level, I just want to ask you this question. Tennis is considered a gentleman's game. And when you have over in England, everyone wants to be the Whig society where they're all aristocratic and they're all proper. And that's just their society. Nothing wrong with that. But why is it, if that's a great feat to have the 8th Wimbledon, but would you believe that Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, they'd get more attention for just talking garbage? Almost, you got to bleep out every 7 seconds, Big C. Why is a sport like tennis, which is so great, so many great people have played it, why is that still taking a back seat to this garbage promotion that we have going on with MMA and boxing, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's like the juvenile broadcasters that you hear all the time on radio and television. These people are so into themselves. And when you talk about a gentleman's sport such as tennis, it's done with class and elegance. And even far as the attire that they wear.
Yeah.
It speaks about, what the sport represents. Purity and cleanness.
Yeah.
And, when you deal with this MMA, all we're dealing with is street fighting. MMA and boxing, this is as street can get. But it also deals with the broadcast companies that are covering it and allows you to hear the venom that is being spewed between these two individuals.
Yeah.
All the profanity laden. I mean, it's like listening to a rap song. What's the difference between a rap song and Mayweather and McGregor?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not. Other than you see these guys and you don't see the guys on the radio.
Yeah.
So, the broadcast companies feel that they're giving something back to the public by giving them something that's less than, average. I want to hear someone articulate about their craft.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear, you telling me how many profanity-laden tirades that you can take, several minutes of press conference.
Holding your crotch and the F-bomb and MF this and MF that. I'm sure their mothers are so embarrassed, and sometimes you talk about doing things that make your parents proud. And I know it's a tough sport, and they're trying.
You're talking about making your parents proud. What about the broadcast company? Is this what we've gone?
Yeah.
Is this where it's going? I mean, think about boxing. Boxing wasn't this much of a tirade, profanity-wise, prior to McGregor showing up from the MMA.
Yeah.
But this is embraced. He's white, and so it's embraced by him saying all these profanities.
Yeah.
Now, if a black man saying all this throughout the history of boxing, think about what the societal impact with that would be. What would be said back in negativity towards him? Well, this is what we expect from them. This is what these people are. You would hear that, and I'm going to say that because it is racial divide. It's acceptable.
Oh, yeah.
For the white guy to go out on profanity, tirade, but if the black guy was to do it, well, this is what they are. You might as well call them whatever you want to call them, but it's looked at separately based on race, Charles.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair analysis. So obviously we want to thank just Federer for not getting up and cussing out the crowd, not looking at his opponent and telling him he's gonna bleep it, and he's an MF, and you blankety blank and bleepity bleep. And I just realized we make fun of England in their Whig society, in the aristocratic society, but for young kids watching, you're trying to get the younger people to get involved in the sport. And as much as I love boxing and MMA, I don't want my son and my daughter watching that garbage, the promotion side of it, because when I have them watch tennis, they can see people being treated like they have a brain, like they have some common sense. And people buy the tickets anyway, Big C, so you can cuss someone out and call them every name that you got to bleep out every 5 seconds. Kind of a shame on ESPN for promoting all that garbage. I just think you're right. If we had 2 African-American boxers going around talking that way, such vitriolic hate speech, they would not promote that. But because we have a white guy, they're going to find a way to say it's okay. And I challenge anyone to find if I'm wrong or not about that. Even Mike Tyson in his heyday, they didn't have 4 and 5 days of that same garbage that went on for an hour talking about someone's mom and how they're going to even play. McGregor has so little class. He's talking about challenging Floyd Money Mayweather's dad. What a dumb, low-class, ignorant thing to do. And they promoted like, yeah, he's tough. He's going to fight the guy's dad. Big C, have you ever seen such low class from our broadcast spectrum?
Well, Jordan, like I said, it's perpetuated by the broadcast company who keeps covering it. They say this is acceptable white society. I mean, you think about how things have changed since we've had the new president. How society has changed, what's acceptable in broadcast.
Yeah.
Because of what he has said. So this is status quo, Johnson. And as you stated earlier so eloquently, if this was two African-American fighters going out spewing this garbage, you would get no coverage. And you would get lambasted in print media as well as broadcast media how low life and low class these individuals are.
Yeah.
But this is an uplifting for them to have a white guy lambasting a black man with profanities in today's society. Wow, he can get away with that.
Yeah.
Think about it. We've gone back to old time America like Donald Trump. We're going to take things back to the day when we can do and say what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
This is what Conor McGregor is doing, what our president said he can do. And the broadcast companies are covering it. This is a disgrace to American society. This let us know that we're going back archaic, that we've taken a step back in time, that this is acceptable. The beratement of another race, of another person on a broadcast television,
Yeah.
and it's acceptable. And not only that, Charlton, as much as I blame ESPN or any other Fox
Yeah.
for covering that,
Yeah.
I blame the sponsors for allowing this to be said.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen, I go back to Stern, Howard Stern, because of his profanity. He lost sponsors, things that he said. But McGregor, it's okay. So, you know, when you look at this, it all depends on who the white guy is that's spewing the profanity, what you're going to allow.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. So obviously England, no matter how much we talk in America about the Whig Society, and you just made me think about something, Big C, as you often do. You mentioned when POTUS said he wants to make our country great again. And when you watch the Wimbledon tennis matchup, where they actually shake hands and give each other a hug with the winner and the loser, they do that. They don't get in each other's face. And as far as making our country great again, I just wish that some of our American sports leagues can look at what happens at Wimbledon. It really is okay to respect your opponent and not call them an MF and a blankety blank and you know, all these words that just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make the fight any better. It's almost pulling in the lowest of the low of human behavior. But Big C, I want to also ask him, when we come back across the pond to the United States of America, you know, Federer, obviously, he's done his thing. But when I still think of tennis, I still think of the great and the late Arthur Ashe. I think of Jimmy Connors. I think about Rafael Nadal. But even on the women's side of it, Billie Jean King and the Williams sisters will be etched in stone for class and how to win as a champion. Isn't it something that the women that are leading the world in tennis, they have more of an appeal than the men? I think that's the only sport you can say that. You can't say it in football, basketball, or baseball. Why are women more popular in the sport of tennis than men are, Big C, worldwide?
Well, Charlton, I think you look at the dominance from the female side. I mean, I think about a Steffi Graf or Martina Navratilova.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, how dominant that they were throughout their career, Charlton. Pam Shriver on the tennis court, you know, out there with elegance and class. And these women, you know, did what you're supposed to do in the game.
Yeah.
They played it right, okay? They didn't try to cheat. They didn't try to get an edge over anybody. They went out and worked at their craft. They didn't run their mouths. They didn't need a press conference talking about how they were going to belittle their opponent.
Yeah.
They were going to go out and play the game the way that they were taught to play the game. And I think that comes with the upbringing in tennis circuit, Johnson. When we think about all the greats in tennis, they start as youth. You know, they start under 10 years old generally.
Yeah.
And so they've had this lifestyle of understanding professionalism and mannerism in their sport.
Yeah.
You know, you learn that early. We look at football, we look at basketball. What do you show as a highlight show on these sports broadcasts, ESPN and Fox? You show somebody getting in somebody's face, yelling, trying to posterize somebody. You know, it's almost like if you disrespect an opponent, Johnson, in any other professional sport other than tennis, you make the highlight show.
Yeah.
That's what it's come down to. You hit a home run, it takes you 33 seconds to round the bases.
Yeah.
Because you're showing up the picture.
Yeah.
You know, you slam dunk on somebody, you got to turn around, you got to flex, yell at them. It's 2 damn points, all right?
Yeah.
You throw a touch, you catch a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
You got 90 seconds to dance in the end zone and some gyration.
Yeah.
It's only 6 points. Look at the scoreboard. You're behind by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
This is what I talk about. The classness of professional sports now. That it's the sports programs want that. They want somebody to show off, to act the foolish, and that makes us our highlight show because we don't have anything to talk about to elaborate to make the game any more exciting than what it was.
Yeah.
So if we can show your highlight of gyrations for the next 30 seconds, that makes our show easier, Joe.
And that's a very good point, Big C. So hopefully we can learn a little bit from our friends across the pond and how to celebrate each other. And the sport in itself, I think, is a lot to be improved in the United States of America. Big C, back across the country, and we look about the NFL. A lot of things happen in NFL. I think we start about 2 more weeks with the preseason. All the camps started opening up. But I just want to ask you, with Kirk Cousins and Le'Veon Bell, with Pittsburgh and Washington, they didn't get their deals done. Obviously, maybe the teams don't want to pay them that much. Kirk Cousins didn't make the playoffs last year, and now he doesn't get this long-term deal because I think the ownership is saying, what have you done for me lately? Janet Jackson got a lot of people in trouble when the owner started saying, what have you done for me lately? She sang it better than I do, Big C. But do you think that Washington's cooling off on Cousins, Big C? Your thoughts?
No, I don't, Charlton. I think that Kirk Cousins is the smartest man in the NFL right now.
Really? Why?
I honestly do.
Why?
Why? In the last 2 years, Kirk Cousins will make $49 million over the last 2 seasons, all right? $49 million. Think about it. Guaranteed $49 million, and he's made the playoffs 2 years ago. Didn't make it last year, but you don't make the playoffs and you get a $24.5 million raise.
Ouch.
That's pretty ingenious, okay?
Yeah.
He don't have to sit there and he doesn't have any pressure on him, Charles.
Yeah.
He honestly doesn't. He's the smartest man in the NFL. You can talk about all these quarterbacks that make the playoffs, got these super agents, they got all these statistics. He has decent statistics.
Yeah.
But he didn't make the playoffs, and he got a pay raise, okay?
Wow.
He had a sub-500 season and got a pay raise of $2 million. He went from just under $23 million to just under $25 million, Charlton. That's ingenious. Now, I want the same guy working for me to work for him.
Yeah.
I got this quarterback. He doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
He doesn't lead the league in yards. He doesn't lead it in touchdowns. He doesn't lead it in interceptions. But he has a losing record.
Wow.
And we want $25 million.
Yeah.
And the team, listen to this, they punk up and say, all right, we'll give $25 million.
Yeah.
Because there's no quarterback out there that's better than Kirk Cousins. That's what the Washington Redskins said. There's not a quarterback in the NFL that's better than Kirk Cousins or more intelligent than Kirk Cousins because we're willing to give him $25 million guaranteed for 16 weeks, win or lose. That's ingenious. That's an intelligent man, Joe.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. When you think about it, it's the same thing, and I love the fact that they're getting the money. But we just talked about this for the NBA, all the trades going on. What player won a championship that left his team to go elsewhere to make them better? I mean, Durant obviously did it, but that was last year. But this offseason where we had nearly $2.5 billion traded and players being moved around from different team to different team, none of them could bring a championship ring with them. It's all guys that haven't won anything. And the guys that haven't won anything are making more money collectively than the guys that left and had championship rings. Big C, are we starting to see the same thing in the NFL now? Winning doesn't matter. All that matters is how you're marketed, Big C?
It's been that way since free agency has come about. There's never been people leaving championship teams to go make another team a championship team, okay?
Yeah.
There's always role players who roll out and go to other teams. I mean, when you look at the Patriots last Super Bowl, Blanchard, he led the AFC in touchdowns.
Yeah.
Okay? As a running back. But he's gone.
Yeah.
Right? He's in Philadelphia. Will he make Philadelphia better? He will help. But
Yeah.
I don't think that he'll make them the Patriots. The Patriots keep retooling. The key cogs in that team state. When you look at any championship team over the years, when Denver won a couple of years ago, they lost their main cog. They lost Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
He was gone, so they were scrambling for a quarterback in identity. They lost their running back. So the two key cogs in their backfield were gone. So they were left scrambling. And that's what you have with teams that don't stay together.
Yeah.
When Golden State lost their championship,
Yeah.
After trying to defend it against Cleveland, they didn't lose the cogs of the team. They brought in one more. They brought in a couple more players to replace the ones that they had. They were not as productive as they thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
And when you look at Kevin Durant signing his contract, and everybody said, well, he could have took max money.
Yeah.
All right? He's not as selfish as Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant will rather win. Kirk Cousins just wants to get paid.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
He don't care about winning. He cares about getting paid, and he proved that. If he cared about winning, he would have signed a long-term deal that was cap-friendly.
Yeah.
Allowed the Washington Redskins to bring in the players. Look at all the key players he lost. All of his receivers, Charlton.
That's a very good point, Big C. It just reminds me, Andrew Luck, Tom Brady, both of them, considered the marquee quarterbacks. One of them has 5 Super Bowl championships. The other has none. But one of them makes a lot more money than the one who has the most championships because winning was more important than having the highest payroll. I also want to ask you...
Charlton makes $10 million more a year than Tom Brady. Think about it.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins has one playoff game that he's played as an NFL starter.
Yeah.
He makes $10 million more a year than Tom Brady.
Big C, everyone...
I guess that's fair.
Everyone talks about drug testing players. I think we need to start drug testing owners and make sure they understand what they're signing, or make sure their system's clean, Big C, if you understand what I'm saying. You want them signing with clean ink, Big C.
Well, we know Thursday is not clean ink.
Well, that...
144 million, I guess they didn't get what he wanted. He wanted some luck out of this.
Well, when they got rid of Marshall Faulk because they didn't think it could help them win a championship, all he did was went over to St. Louis and help them get it done. I do want to ask you a little bit, too. Le'Veon Bell, you have just a star player for Pittsburgh. Obviously, Big Ben, will this be his last year or not? Who knows? When you have so much money, you decide, do I want to come back and make $500,000 a week? Life must be pretty good for Big Ben. Le'Veon Bell, no long-term deal. He's going to make $12 million this year. That's not bad. That might be the whole payroll for what they have, the terrible towels back in the day with the steel curtain with Mean Joe Green and those good old boys, Big C. That's not a lot of money to find against $12 million. Are they trying to show him the door, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at Le'Veon Bell has missed 16 games over the last 3 years, okay?
Yeah.
As an NFL running back. But he's still the number 3 rusher and all-purpose yards gainer during those 3 years, Charlton.
Yeah.
Missing an entire season. So when you think about the productivity of a Le'Veon Bell and what he means to an organization, look at the Steelers' offense when he's not there, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have not been as successful as they have been when he's there.
Yeah.
Even whether Ben's in the lineup or not, Le'Veon Bell is such a key cog in that Pittsburgh offense.
Yeah.
But it's come down to, you and I have spoken about this for months, the deep value of the African-American running back.
Yeah.
Okay? It's just not there. I can get another one to look and run just like you.
Yeah.
That's the analogy in the NFL.
Yeah.
That I can go get another running back easy, and I'll keep running through them until I find one that fits just like you do.
Yeah.
That's the mindset. Versus if you get a non-productive white quarterback in the NFL,
Yeah.
and there's 20 of them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
There's 20 unproductive white quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
You keep a job.
Yeah.
You get a long-term contract. You get to stay with an organization. But it doesn't work that way when you're productive African-American running back. People always say, well, their career, they're on the downside of their career.
Yeah.
Show me the quarterbacks that are not making the playoffs that are on the upside of his career. When you look at Cousins, he is on the upside of his financial career.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is on the upside of his financial career. He may not make the playoffs, but he's making more money than anybody else in the NFL.
Big C, I want to ask your opinion. Sometimes as we get older, sometimes we get a little bit more wise. Everybody has some skeleton in their closet. Nobody's perfect. But I look at this, one of my favorite running backs out of a troubled program at Ohio State University. They've had some issues with athletes over the years, and every major university has. But I look at Ezekiel Elliott, and here he is in the prime of his life, a young man, but you can't keep making excuses. Sometimes you need veteran players to say, hey, cut it out. You quit messing up because you hurt the team. Like Charles Haley back in the day when they had Emmitt Smith, they didn't have to tell Emmitt that because Emmitt was mature. But I look at this young man that keeps finding ways to get in trouble, whether it's grabbing women or allegedly being in a fist fight in a bar. At some point in time, someone needs to say to him, and I'm not saying it's anyone else's responsibility. We're all responsible for our own lives. But what can the ownership in Dallas do to corral this young man in and say, look, you have you have a target on your chest everywhere you go, whether you do right or wrong. Because you're not only a pro football player, people know you're rich. People are going to goat you into a fist fight. People are going to goat you into talking like you're Floyd Money Mayweather and Conor McGregor because they want to get punched in the nose and go to the courthouse and get a few $1 million in settlement. But see, how can you tell these guys to stay out of trouble? Yeah.
You can't get it no simpler than that, Jonathan. If you know, and this is not your first rodeo, okay?
Yeah.
This has been going on since he's been in college.
Yeah.
So when they say this is Ezekiel, ain't no damn allegedness about this. This is what he does.
Yeah.
We've seen him on video doing this, Jonathan. Trouble doesn't find him. He finds trouble.
Yeah.
If he kept his young butt at home, he wouldn't have these problems. But he wants to go out and floss it. I'm on Ezekiel Elliott, and I can do whatever I want. So this is him. This is his modus operandi. What needs to come from the Dallas Cowboys and the NFL is a conduct filter.
Yeah.
Suspended 2 to 4 days.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, when you've been hit in the pocket, reality comes home to professional athletes. Damn,
Yeah.
I just lost $500,000.
That's a lot of money to lose, Big C. And unfortunately, I think you understand what that feels like. I don't know what that feels like yet, but I do want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every sporting event, you need athlete and event insurance. We do it with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They're in all 50 states, and when you reach out to them, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. So obviously, whether you are Ezekiel Elliott or whether you're any player that's ever had any type of run-in with law enforcement, if you have several $1 million and you're sitting on several $1 million more coming into the bank, we know the NFL is a poor man's league of sports compared to basketball. Guys in basketball make more in 1 year than some NFL players are making their whole career, Big C. And same with baseball. So you really can't afford to be a knucklehead when you're a football player because they're looking to get you. Yeah, all you got to do is screw up enough, and everybody has a camera called a cell phone. Just wake up and quit being stupid. Hopefully someone close to him will tell him that if he's not smart enough to do it on his own. Big C, on our last half of the program, you know, everybody's talking college football. I know we already talked about college football last week, but just I get charged up this time of the year also, and I know you love the sport. I want to just get your opinion. If you look at the Pac-12, the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, and the WAC, and then the Big 8, Big 12, who are some of your best running backs coming out of the Pac-12? I want to say O.J. Simpson, Marcus Allen, Reggie Bush, Sam Bam Cunningham, and most recently LeGarrette Blount. Who would strike fear in your heart if you're a defensive guy wanting to tackle one of these guys? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, if I'm looking at the Pac-12, which it is now, Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen may be the greatest running back in the history of professional football. Many people don't realize that, Charlton.
Yeah.
Marcus Allen, you think about Marcus Allen, Charlton. He's the first running back in college to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season.
Wow.
First. And this was after playing fullback the previous season, blocking for a Heisman Trophy winner named Charles White
Yeah.
at USC. He went to the NFL, to the Raiders as a first-round draft pick, Charlton. He gained 1,000 yards again.
Yeah.
He was also Rookie of the Year, okay?
Yeah.
Add these stats up. I'm just getting started with Marcus, because Marcus can take a half a year to talk about.
Yeah.
That's how good Marcus Allen is.
Yeah.
Even though he'll never get his praise as one of the greatest running backs of all time in the NFL.
Yeah.
Let's continue on with Marcus. I think about the year 1983.
Yeah.
They were down at Tampa. They played this team called the Redskins that won this paying Kirk Cousins all
Yeah.
the money.
Yeah.
Okay. He happened to lead the game in rushing and win an MVP. So let's look at this, Charles. The kid has already, got the Heisman Trophy winners at USC.
Yeah.
He's Rookie of the Year. He's won the MVP in the Super Bowl. Oh, damn, he's not even finished. Alongside him, an NFL MVP on top of that. All
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we're stacking stuff up. Not only that, but let's track it back just a little bit. Marcus Allen spent 6 years in the NFL really not even playing, okay?
Yeah, because Al Davis.
Because of Al Davis. He spent 4 years blocking for Bo Jackson as a fullback. All
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they took the ball out of his hands. He spent another 2 years sitting on the bench. All right? So in a 15-year career in the NFL, Johnson, and he also, when he went to Kansas City, they threw him one more award. He had Comeback Player of the Year.
Oh, really?
Right?
Okay.
Comeback Player of the Year. Now, Marcus Allen finished his NFL career with over 12,000 yards rushing, Johnson.
Yeah.
12. Now, he only played 9.
Yeah.
Same amount of years as Jim Brown played.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same amount of years as Jim Brown played. But he also had 153 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Let's tack that on, 153 touchdowns. Led all running backs, all time, 153 touchdowns. All right? So when you talk about a dominant running back that no one really knows about,
Yeah.
you need to go look at Marcus Allen, because every award that you can win, let's start with the Heisman Trophy, Johnson.
Yeah.
Let's go with Rookie of the Year. Let's start with NFL MVP. Let's look at Super Bowl MVP. Let's look at Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Show me somebody with that type of accolades who's played running back in the NFL. He doesn't exist other than Marcus Allen, Johnson.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, Big C. And tomorrow we're going to go down the few of the other conferences. I just want to get your opinion. We'll go into the SEC. We'll preview, the Big Ten and the ACC and the WAC, which is also the Mountain West, the Big 8, which is the Big 12. Everybody's so hyped on who's going to come out now, but the history is already written with these great players that came out of those conferences. And as we get ready to close, Big C, when you think about, we talked about Marcus Allen, we talked about O.J. Simpson, the great Reggie Bush, Sam Bam Cunningham, LeGarrette Blount. In the Pac-12 is known as a passing conference. You just mentioned who you think is one of the top players in the history of the game that came out of a running conference out of a running school in a passing conference. So that tells you a lot more. When you played USC, you knew they were going to run the ball, and he was still unstoppable even after backing up Charles White back in the day. That tells you a lot about the prowess of him as an athlete, and also what he's gone on to do things in the broadcast booth. Never saw him being in trouble, Big C, so congratulations. And he's definitely, can't argue with him, at least coming out of that Pac-12, Big C, as one of the best players in the history of that conference. Big C, Ollie had a statement called Rumble, Young Man Rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the world of the sports universe?
Well, Joe, I'm getting ready to call in some assassins to take care of these mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Deep cover on these
Moonshine, baby.
Charlton, I had a great weekend watching Wimbledon. I'm going to tell you, it was marvelous when you sit there and you watch the women's and the men's final, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's what the class and elegance of what sports are.
Yeah.
It's hard to come off of that high. We got baseball going on, but Wimbledon is a universal event that everybody lives for.
Yeah.
That you can set your clock to it year in and year out. And I'm one of those yangos that get up early in the morning. I can't sleep anyway,
Yep.
hungover, so I'm trying to
Yeah.
And I sit down and I watch these marvelous athletes challenge each other on grass, Charlton. Just some great tennis. Just great fans, as you talk about the Wigs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it's the elegance of the sport, and it's also the elegance of the fans that make you appreciate that long championships over in Mariole, England, Charlton.
And that's a great point. You don't have to cuss people out and talk about their parents in order to get people to tune in, Big C. We've covered Roger Federer. Congratulations to him. What a great feat. Talked about some of the players in the NFL that may not get their long-term contracts, but you just told me that Cousins might be the best possum out there, Big C. He's making money by losing games, and we ran down who you think is the best running back to come out of the Pac-12, Marcus Allen. A lot of people might say LeGarrette Blount, Reggie Bush, O.J. Simpson, but you can't go wrong with Marcus. And you can't go wrong with Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you there's never, ever any reason for domestic violence. No woman and no man should have to be beaten up and go through that garbage on their own. Just call 911 if you see somebody in trouble. Don't let someone deal with that garbage all on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.